This is the Lewis LH4 brake set, and it happens to be one of, if not the most controversial components in mountain biking today. It's a 4-piston hydraulic disc brake that has exploded in popularity across most social media platforms over the last year, and it's even been selected as the brake of choice by an official World Cup downhill team. It also happens to look suspiciously like an existing German luxury brake, at a price that might just be too good to be true. Lewis passionately defends their products and asserts that their performance will surprise you. There's not a lot of information about these brakes out there, and as of this video's release, I feel that no media outlet or content creator has done a sufficient job at telling the story behind Lewis, to the point where a potential customer is able to make an informed purchasing decision. This is the complete history of Lewis brakes. Let's get started. I purchased this LH4 brake set with my own money in order to provide an independent, comprehensive, and honest review. I have no professional affiliation with Lewis, and although I'm sure they're expecting a review on my channel, they were not given a preview of this video and they are not compensating me in any way for it. They provided me a small discount on the purchase of these brakes, which was largely consumed by having to pay import duties, and I'm going to discuss more about that discount later in the video. I feel that disclosing information like this is critical for building trust with my audience and maintaining my journalistic integrity. Anyone who reviews a product without disclosing in the original piece exactly how they acquired it and addressing any potential conflicts of interest should not be blindly trusted. The bike industry is notorious for this and could really stand to learn a lesson from creators like Gamers Nexus and Gerald Undone. Today I'm going to attempt to tell you the complete story behind the formation of the Lewis brand so that you can have an informed opinion when my in-depth LH4 review video releases within the next few weeks. If you've never heard of Lewis before, that's no surprise. Lewis is a new Chinese company that was founded in 2022. On their official English website, they currently offer 4 different mountain bike brake sets, 2 eMTB or e-motorcycle brake sets, and 1 road flat mount caliper. All of these brakes have been designed and manufactured in-house at their factory in Cixi City near Ningbo, China. I will cover 3 of these models in detail later in this video. Let's take a look at their Instagram account in order to try to learn more about Lewis. Their official Instagram account was created in August of 2019. It appears to have originally been used as a personal account, with the first 4 remaining posts being general lifestyle photos. It is also worth noting that this account has had a total of 7 different usernames since it was created. That's an average of 1 unique username every 8.5 months on average. The oldest brake-related post still present on this account is from May 5th, 2023, just over a year ago. In it, you can see the words "All for Cycling and Experience," which is Lewis's slogan, etched or engraved onto the caliper, along with the name 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙧𝙪. A quick Google of the name 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙧 will bring up a fishing reel brand that seems to have been launched around November of 2023. They have a website that uses the same layout and color scheme as Lewis, and they also share the same business address. It's not uncommon for a well-equipped factory to produce products for multiple industries if the manufacturing process is similar enough. I just thought this was worth mentioning to paint the entire story. They seem to have repurposed this brand name for their new company. The 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙧 brake name is present throughout the next few brake photos, including on some admittedly very cool 3D printed titanium calipers. These calipers look to be generatively designed and substantially different from the calipers that Radek 3D printed back in March of 2020. I'm a big fan of these 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙧 branded 3D printed calipers as they appear to show some true innovation from the brand. On May 26, 2023, they officially rebranded to Lewis and made a post to commemorate this change. Nothing was mentioned about why this name change occurred, though I will speculate that it was an attempt to differentiate their brake business from their fishing reel business, while also appealing to a more global audience with a more Western name. It's hard to pinpoint a specific date, but it appears that their mountain bike brakes became globally available for purchase around August of 2023, starting with the LH4 and LV4 models. This means that Lewis as a company has been selling brakes for just over 1 year as of the release of this video. That's not a very long time, but that's not inherently an issue. On February 23, 2024, Pinkbike uploaded a review of the Lewis LHT brake set, and summarized them as, quote, "The Lewis LHT Ultimates are no joke. They offer effective lever adjustments and are up to the required tasks of gravity riding. While they might cost half as much as their Trickstuff Maxima doppelgangers, they didn't quite match the notorious power of the German-made brake set." This is an overwhelmingly positive review given the aggressive price point that Lewis has been targeting with their brakes so far, and also directly addresses what makes these brakes so divisive. To my knowledge, this was also the first time that a major Western publication had formally recognized these brakes and this brand's existence, which marks a significant milestone for Lewis. On April 26, 2024, Lewis collaborated with Intense Factory Racing on a joint carousel Instagram post, announcing that Intense had chosen Lewis's LHT's brakes for their downhill race team. Quote, "To stay in line with the quality of the rest of our team's products, we were on the hunt for the most competitive brakes on the market. Discovering at LewisBike_official and completing a block of testing, we decided that Lewis LHT brakes are the perfect complement to our M1 race bikes. We are stoked to debut these brakes on the World Cup scene in Fort William next week." This was a huge seal of approval for what was a relatively unknown brand at the time. Louis has continued to have an active social media presence throughout all of 2024 and sent their brakes to a handful of content creators on every platform around the world. But what makes these brakes so controversial? At first glance, especially without some detailed knowledge of the bike industry and the history behind a few smaller boutique brake manufacturers, this seems like an innocent enough upbringing for a company that's new to the brake game. However, once you start to dig into almost literally any of Louis's comment sections, the controversy becomes immediately clear. Looks like a Trickstuff copy. Copy-paste of Trickstuff. Nice Trickstuff copy, inspired by Trickstuff. The design is a German Trickstuff Maxima copied. Chinese copying a German product. Looks like a super cheap version of the Trickstuff Maxima. Why copying products of others? And so on and so on. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of these accusatory comments, and at first glance they are somewhat justifiable. When you take a look at Trickstuff's brake offerings, specifically the Maxima and Direttissima, Louis's brakes do look remarkably similar in their overall aesthetic and industrial design. Conveniently, a viewer of my channel, who happens to go by the username BCPOV, has let me borrow his set of Maximas for some thorough testing, reviewing, and comparing on my channel. I can confirm that the LH4s look very similar in person, but not identical to the Maximas at a quick glance. Thanks a ton for your support, Eric, it really means a lot to me. There are only so many ways to style a brake, but the Louis LH4 and LHT brakes bear an uncanny resemblance to what has been infamously the most expensive and often sought after brake on the market. And to arrive at such a visually similar solution with what is allegedly an independent design is rather suspicious. Now, Louis genuinely believes that their brakes, specifically the LH4 and the LHT, are substantially different internally from what Trickstuff has to offer. Louis argues that they have improved upon their Trickstuff design and that the performance of their brakes will certainly surprise you. You'd better believe we're going to get into that in the in-depth review. There are rumors online that Louis has removed a handful of allegations made against them in their comment sections, going as far as blocking people and even threatening to sue people for defamation, but I could not find any evidence to these claims remaining on their official Instagram account. To Louis's credit, despite getting an overwhelming amount of hate toward the likeness of their designs, which must be incredibly annoying, Louis consistently responds with calm and well-reasoned responses that often include specific lists of improvements made above and beyond the Trickstuff design. Louis appears to genuinely stand behind their product's design and business decisions, and by the end of this video, you'll hopefully understand why they have taken such a firm position here. And that's kind of where the story ends, at least on Western social media. Louis's brakes appear to be very similar to Trickstuff's. They have been chosen by the Intense Factory racing team, and they have received praise from influencers and media outlets around the world. Louis passionately defends themselves against their Trickstuff clone accusations, and as we're about to discuss, you should probably believe them because they know exactly what a Trickstuff clone looks like. Louis has an active account on the Chinese social media platform Bilibili, which is effectively Chinese YouTube, and the story behind their brand gets a whole lot more interesting from here on. Louis's Bilibili account has uploaded 207 videos as of the time of this video, and the earliest of which was uploaded on October 7th, 2022. This video starts with an image of a red brake caliper with the name Louis etched onto it in a different styling than we see today. At the end of the video, there are two images that are displayed. The first image is of a lever that very clearly says Direttissima on the reservoir cap, and the second image is of a complete brake set, with a Louis caliper clearly connected to the Direttissima lever. Now let's do a bit of background research and then take a closer look at this red lever from Louis's account. Trickstuff debuted their Direttissimas in September of 2015 at the Eurobike convention. On these prototype levers, and possibly the earliest production runs of this brake, there was only a single Direttissima wordmark laser etched onto the reservoir cap. In February of 2017, Paul Aston posted a review of the Direttissima on Pinkbike. In his photos, you can clearly see that the reservoir cap had already been updated to its current version, which depicts a stylized Direttissima wordmark displayed in two orientations, one toward the rider and one rotated 180 degrees. I cannot find any images of red anodized levers that only have a single wordmark etched onto them, but they would have to have been manufactured between September of 2015 and February of 2016. One thing that Paul specifically mentions in his review is that, quote, there is lever reach adjustment from I like my lever hitting the grip before it works, all the way to I have giant hands and want the lever miles away from me, via a 2mm hex key. There is no bite point adjuster or tool-free option. In these images, you can also see a black slotted one-piece spark clamp attached to the black anodized master cylinder. In September of 2017, Bike Mag posts an article online about Trickstuff's brakes at Eurobike. In their photos of the Direttissima, a toolless reach adjustment dial can very clearly be seen emerging from behind the lever blade. This means that the brakes had been revised and a toolless reach adjustment dial had been added between February and September of 2017. In these photos you can also see a black slotted one-piece spark clamp attached to the black anodized master cylinder. In July of 2018, Bike Rumor reports on the development of a 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪𝙪 Maxima brake, and the images in the article feature a raw two-piece spark clamp attached to a raw master cylinder. This means that sometime between the official release of the Maxima brake, the bar clamp that shipped with the production 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪 brakes was replaced with this updated two-piece version. Note that in all of the photos so far, the color of the bar clamp matches the color of the master cylinder, either black or raw. Bike Rumor also posted some very cool cutaway photos of the brake internals. Now that we've done our homework, let's take a look at that red lever from Lewis's Bilibili account again. I believe that we have enough information to conclusively say that this is not a genuine Trickstuff lever, but not necessarily where it came from. To start, there is a toolless reach adjustment dial present on a lever with a single 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪 wordmark etched onto the reservoir. This was not possible given the timeline of improvements that we have just discussed. The single wordmark is also etched in the incorrect direction and keyed that way due to its 3-bolt assembly pattern, and its size does not match up with what is shown at the pre-release Eurobike photos. The bar clamp is raw instead of black, which it should be due to the anodized black body of the master cylinder, and features 2 ridges of material bridging the slot that were never present in the first generation one-piece Trickstuff bar clamps. Based on all of these factors, I believe this to be a counterfeit Trickstuff lever paired with a Lewis branded caliper. Let's move on. On the following day, Lewis uploaded a video showing some CNC clips of the lever blade being machined, followed by a 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪 branded reservoir cap, and then a montage of machine testing clips. It appears that at least Lewis is taking safety very seriously. A few days later, on October 10th, Lewis uploads another manufacturing video, this time featuring a heavily stylized name on the reservoir cap named Takisawa. The brakes in the video look otherwise identical to the previous 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪 branded lever. With the assistance of Google Translate, the description of this video mentions that they have a strict attention to detail to enhance the country's prestige. Let those who look down on domestic products slap their faces. On October 16th, Lewis uploaded a clip that looks like it's from the hydraulic press channel, featuring their brake being machine tested with a glowing red-hot rotor attached to a motor. The posts from around this time are all to a similar effect, and it is clear that they are proud of how this brake is performing so far. One of the posts even shows the caliper being destructively tested, and it explodes in quite a dramatic fashion. It is also around this time that Lewis starts tagging Trickstuff in the video tags. On October 23rd, 2022, Lewis uploads a video entitled Comparison Between Lewis Brake Parts and TS, short for Trickstuff. In this video, an employee, presumably the engineer or the founder, discusses the difference between their Lewis brakes and Trickstuff genuine brakes. This video is certainly interesting, but the comment beneath the video is very important. With the assistance of Google Translation, quote, Lewis hydraulic brakes are a child of China. It is the first time to make hydraulic brakes, a brake that welcomes expert and friends from all over the country to lift it up. It is wrong to copy others. Huawei copied Nokia, Geely's first car was Citroen's Fukang. This brake is the first brake for Lewis's growth. We hope to make friends with domestic experts and riders through this brake. Thank you for helping us. He helped me grow and make mistakes together. This imitation TS brake is only 300 sets, and 300 sets will be sent to riders across the country for testing. Only lifetime service fee will be charged. After 300 sets, Lewis's own design will be made. The purpose of our imitation is not to make money, but to learn and understand the process. We don't want to be 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪, we want to be Huawei. Thank you for supporting domestic riders. Thank you for the ugly girl meeting her parents-in-law now. If we look past the obvious translation shortcomings, the message behind it is very important. This is a direct admission that Lewis has intentionally imitated Trickstuff in order to learn about hydraulic brakes as quickly as possible. On November 1st, Lewis posted a video about their vertical master cylinder, which would later turn into the LV4. This was the first time that we'd seen this lever. On November 11th, Lewis posts a video about fishing reels, and the description per Google Translate says, quote, Lewis Hydraulic Brakes, the hydraulic brake factory, has been making fishing gear for over 20 years. Many of the world's top fishing gear comes from this factory. As for hydraulic brakes, although we have never been exposed to them before, there are so many enthusiastic riders in China. I believe it will definitely go global. We are ourselves and do not denigrate others. We serve riders wholeheartedly. We insist on research and development. Where there is a will, there is a way. Hashtag Trickstuff Brakes. In this video, they show off finished products from brands such as Van Staal, Guideline, and Bates coming from their factory. I don't know anything about fishing, but all of these brands have very polished looking Western websites. On November 17th, Lewis posted a small documentary about their factory's history and gets absolutely roasted in the comment section, saying it is recommended to make a good product first and then tell the story. Although others do not agree, stating that the product speaks for itself, don't just follow the foreigner's storytelling. Clearly there is some disagreement within China about Lewis at this point in time. On November 19th, Lewis posted a video announcing that their mountain bike and road bike brakes are now on the market. In this video, the fake 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪𝙪 lever and the early branded Lewis caliper from Lewis's first Bilibili video are shown in what appears to be a slideshow of their Taobao storefront. At the end of the video, the lever and caliper are shown in a Lewis branded box, which is concerning at best. To my knowledge, this is the last time that a fake 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪 product is shown on their Bilibili account. On December 1st, Lewis posted a video showing dimpled lever blades, which is one of my complaints later in the video, citing that the reason that they didn't make it to production is the increased machining time and presumably therefore expense. It is a shame that they chose to not add this extra process. On December 25th, 2022, Lewis mentioned in a video description that they had applied for 11 patents over the previous 2-month period. This was presumably a way to show that Lewis was committed to true innovation, mentioning that copying is to surpass the source, innovating is the long-term strategy to survive. On January 27th, 2023, Lewis uploaded a video with the description as follows. With the help of Google Translate, it says, "Lewis copied. Our initial R&D started with buying a large number of first-line brand samples and then reverse 3D into the computer, and then we would summarize their experience and advantages on the computer. This is the fastest way for us to learn oil brakes in a short time. Each company had adhered to its own personality in long-term R&D. Learning from others is the way forward. If you understand him, you can develop him better. Come on, Lewis." End quote. In other words, Lewis had purchased, measured, and reverse engineered several brakes in order to learn what worked best and what didn't. This is a common practice even among Western engineering departments that I've worked in the past, as you have to learn from your competition in order to be able to beat them. To be honest, I believe Lewis here. Nothing that they've mentioned seems deceptive, and this direct quote lines up very well with what we've been seeing so far. I do find it somewhat comedic, however, that they have chosen to tag Trickstuff brakes specifically in this video's tags. On February 10th, Lewis uploaded a video recording of their phone screen, where they have a conversation with ChatGPT discussing the direction of Lewis and service as a whole. They start with the prompt, "How can I learn to ride a mountain bike and talk about the fun of mountain biking with fellow riders?" and follow up with, "Please do some advertising for Lewis hydraulic brakes." For the most part, this appears to just be a friendly conversation, although I am unsure if this video is an attempt to show off the power of ChatGPT or an attempt at humor or sarcasm, but the first question is certainly interesting. On March 23rd, Lewis uploaded a video that depicts their vertical lever with the branding Lewis and 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪 etched onto it. This is the first time that we've seen the Lewis logo in its current iteration. This video then moves over to the caliper, where we see it branded as the Lewis Takisawa. I suspect that this was always going to be the model name and not the company name. On May 4th, Lewis uploaded a video from the Shanghai Bicycle Show. This is the first time that we see the 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪 branding on the levers and calipers. This video also shows off their 3D printed titanium caliper for the first time, along with some other vertical lever designs with a unique industrial design that never made it to production. On June 24th, 2023, Lewis uploaded a video talking about how their new brakes can be purchased from their Taobao storefront. This is the first time that we have exclusively seen a Lewis branding on both the lever and the caliper. The brakes, storefront, and overall website design look practically identical to what we can see today. On June 30th, 2023, Lewis uploaded what is potentially the most important video on their Bilibili channel, at least for the purposes of this video. In this 7.5-minute video titled New and Old Comparison, an employee goes over all of the differences between what appears to be a production-ready LH4 brake and an early model Takisawa branded brake. As we discussed earlier, the Takisawa appears to be very close to a Trickstuff 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪 copy, so this video effectively outlines the differences between Lewis's production LH4 brake set and the Trickstuff brakes that they are ruthlessly compared to. This video is critical to understanding Lewis's standpoint, and we will cover the details of this comparison later in the video. From this point onward, what is uploaded to their Bilibili account closely aligns with what is uploaded to their Instagram account, and the timelines are practically aligned. There are, however, 2 additional videos that were not uploaded on Instagram that are of particular interest for this video. On April 29th, 2024, Lewis uploaded a video that appears to show their new product strategy for 2024. Unfortunately, I don't speak Mandarin, so I cannot comment on what is discussed in detail within the video, but it appears to be mostly about the patents that Lewis has been awarded. The brakes shown in the image look substantially different from Lewis's current product offerings, and perhaps represent the unique design direction that Lewis has always mentioned that they would like to take. It would be nice to see Lewis finally take this independent direction, but it is interesting that this post did not make it onto their official Instagram page. On July 16th, 2024, Lewis uploaded a video that formally launches their new LHP-S4 brake set. This brake set appears to use the LA-S4 caliper that was first shown back in April, along with a revised LH4 lever that includes a toolless leverage ratio adjustment dial. Based on the speed at which 𝙤𝙧 has been developing and releasing new products, and the similarities with their existing 𝙎𝙧4 brake set, I suspect that this will likely become the 𝙎𝙧4 replacement sometime in the near future. Good thing I didn't sit on this video for too long, eh? There's a lot to unpack here, so let's summarize what we actually know. In 2021, employees, potentially upper management, at Cixi Yongji Jingong Fishing Gear Co. Limited, also known as Cixi Energy Refined Fishing Co. Limited, were browsing Facebook and, shocked at the prices of brakes within China, correctly identified a gap in their own domestic market for a premium hydraulic brake. It is unclear through my research if they were passionate cyclists before this decision. We know that Cixi Energy Refined Fishing is the parent company of 𝙤𝙧 because they both share the same factory image online, and on 𝙤𝙧's website you can actually see this parent company's name behind the piece of paper. These employees believed that they had the manufacturing expertise from their fishing reel business to create a good product, but they lacked the specific mountain bike brake knowledge to design a new product from scratch. These employees decided to found Ningbo Louichi Sports Goods Co. Limited, also known as Ningbo 𝙤𝙧 Sports Goods Co. Limited, or 𝙤𝙧, in 2022. Through videos and comments made on their Bilibili account, I believe that 𝙤𝙧 has a clear 3-step plan in order to grow their business efficiently. The first step of this plan was the imitation step. Determined to be a domestic leader in mountain bike brakes, 𝙤𝙧 spent approximately 20,000 RMB purchasing competitor brake sets for research and benchmarking purposes. This is approximately $27.50 US or €25.50. These brakes included Shimano XTR M9120s, Hope V4s, SRAM codes, and the Trickstuff 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙧𝙪𝙍𝙪, along with potentially a few more brands. 𝙤𝙧 spent a considerable amount of time reverse engineering all of these brakes to the point where they had functional 3D assemblies for each of them. After summarizing the pros and cons of each system, along with conducting research on relevant patents, both within China and globally, 𝙤𝙧 concluded that the Trickstuff 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙧𝙪 was the platform that they saw the most potential in. They mentioned specifically that they did not find any relevant patents that they would have to avoid with the Trickstuff design. 𝙤𝙧 then manufactured a brake that was either identical to or very similar to the Trickstuff 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙧𝙪. This was first shown on their Bilibili channel on October 7, 2022. They manufactured approximately 300 of these brake sets and allegedly gave them to riders within China, only charging a fee to provide lifetime service for these models. Early samples of these brakes appear to have a 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙧𝙪 wordmark engraved onto the lever reservoir and a previous version of the 𝙤𝙧 wordmark engraved onto the caliper side. The majority of the production run, however, appears to have a Takisawa model name on the lever. It's hard to tell, but I believe that this imitation run was sold through their Taobao page, along with being given to a handful of riders within China. They also released a vertical lever version for testing and development purposes in what appears to be much smaller quantities. 𝙤𝙧 explicitly mentions that this was the first step of their business plan on their Bilibili channel and made it clear that they did not intend to make money on this initial batch. The purpose of these imitation brakes was to quickly gather feedback through ride testing and identify opportunities for improvement that they could quickly make to this already proven design. 𝙤𝙧 believes that copying is wrong and that reverse engineering their competitors' products would be the fastest way for them to enter a new industry and become experts on brake design rather than the manufacturing process. Competitor benchmarking and reverse engineering are very common and even encouraged practices among engineering departments around the world, although selling imitation products is definitely frowned upon, especially when they are branded to look like the original. 𝙤𝙧 continued to fatigue test, dyno test, and ride test this initial batch of brakes for the following few months. This brings us to step 2 of 𝙤𝙧's business plan, which is the evolution step. While the ride testing of the initial batch was ongoing, the engineer or engineers behind 𝙤𝙧 were working hard to identify potential improvements in this Takisawa or 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙧𝙪𝙧 design. They posted frequent video clips showing their revised lever blades, bar clamps, machining, and anodizing finishes to their Bilibili account. In the background, 𝙤𝙧 was also filing many patents, assigned to both themselves and their parent company. They publicized that they had applied for a large number of patents in just 2 months as a way of showing that they were committed to true innovation, mentioning that copying was to surpass the source, innovating was the long-term strategy to survive. As of recording this video, I was able to identify 7 granted utility patents and 1 pending patent assigned to Ningbo Louichi Sports Goods Co. Limited, or 𝙤𝙧. I was also able to find 6 granted utility patents and 1 pending patent assigned to Cixi Yongji Jingong Fishing Gear Co. Limited, the parent company of 𝙤𝙧 that manufactures fishing reels. All of the patents mentioned here are valid within China. One of the patents assigned to 𝙤𝙧's parent company is currently listed as patent pending in both the United States and European patent offices. I will include a link to all of these patents below in the video description. Due to how long the approval process usually takes, I have no reason to believe that 𝙤𝙧 has not submitted all of their patents to both the US and the EU, and they are likely not searchable because they have yet to be reviewed. I expect that 𝙤𝙧 likely has additional patents that have been submitted in China as well and have not been reviewed yet. On May 5th, 2023, 𝙤𝙧 released their new brake sets at the Shanghai International Bicycle Show. As far as I can tell, the brakes shown at this trade show are functionally identical to what is currently being sold on Lewis's official English website, and represent step 2 of Lewis's business plan. These brakes are an evolution of the initial imitation batch, to the point where Lewis feels confident claiming this design as their own and an improvement on what currently exists. They mention on Instagram that they are standing on the shoulders of giants, learning more from others, and making innovations, whenever users comment on their uncanny resemblance to Trickstuff. Lewis followed this up with a detailed video outlining the differences between their imitation Takisawa brake and what would become their LH4 to Bilibili. Effectively, I see this as a comprehensive list of the claimed improvements that they have made to Trickstuff's original design. In this video, they specifically go over 9 points as to how these brakes are different. They mentioned that they increased the length of the lever blade, they added their patented 2-in-1 coaxial bite point and reach adjustment system, they revised the reservoir cover and diaphragm to prevent leaking, they reduced the overall system weight by removing material on both sides of the calipers, they redesigned the pistons with a completely different cross-section and wall thickness, they revised the brake pad material from metallic to sintered metallic, they replaced the bar clamp with a hinged split clamp, and they changed the grade of mineral oil that they used. This is a substantial list of changes, and all are claimed in the name of performance, with Lewis quick to point out their patented design details wherever possible. Believing that they now had a globally competitive and unique product, Lewis began to market these internationally under the Lewis brand name as the LH4 brake set. The LH4 was first available on their Taobao store on June 24, 2023, followed by the LV4 on August 9th and the LHT Ultimate on October 24th. Lewis also released a 2-piston mountain bike brake, a flat mount road bike brake, and 2 e-motorcycle brakes around this time. Lewis has been exceptionally good at marketing these Step 2 evolution brakes throughout the Western world, which brings us to where we are today on their official English website. This brings us to Step 3 of their business plan, which is innovation. Lewis has always mentioned that they eventually would like to design their own brake and not have to rely on improving existing proven products. On April 29th, 2024, Lewis uploaded a video to Bilibili that discusses their next line of brakes, due to be fully released in 2024. In this video, they briefly discuss what appears to be the successors of the LH4 and LHT brakes, being the LAS4 and LAU4 respectively, along with a 6-piston AXS6 model, whose intended use is not specified. Given the unique industrial design language present on these new models, I believe these products represent Step 3 of Lewis's plan. These new brakes appear to be significantly different from Trickstuff's offerings, both in function and appearance, and I hope that Lewis is able to quickly pivot to these new models in order to avoid further controversy. At the time of uploading this video, these 3rd generation's brakes are not available for purchase on Lewis's official English website, although they are allegedly available on their Taobao page. I am considering reaching out for a review sample that I can ride and review. Let me know in the comments below if that's something that you'd be interested in, and maybe they even have some of those rad 3D printed titanium calipers sitting around too. Now, before I give you my take on the situation, let's take a quick look at Trickstuff's recent history. Trickstuff was founded back in 2004, which gives them approximately 20 years of experience designing and manufacturing hydraulic disc brakes. They currently offer 2 brake sets that are of particular interest for the purposes of this video, the 𝙎𝙧𝙪 and the Maxima. The 𝙎𝙧𝙪 was first shown at Eurobike in September of 2015, and the Maximas were launched on Kickstarter in December of 2018. These 2 brakes are listed at retail prices of €1,100, which is approximately $1,200 and €1,300, approximately $1,420 respectively. In North America, it is often prohibitively expensive to purchase a set of Trickstuff brakes, and a Canadian shop that has them currently in stock lists them on sale at $2,000 Canadian and a retail price of $2,395 Canadian. This retail price, which is before tax, is equal to approximately $1,750 or €1,600. This is absurd. Trickstuff was acquired by DT Swiss for an undisclosed fee on January 1st, 2022, and would reportedly continue to run as an independent company with its own identity and product strategy. Although both brakes have seen minor revisions and small updates here and there, including a revised C42 caliber for the 𝙎𝙧𝙪 in June of 2022, these brakes are very similar to the original models that were launched almost 9 and 5 years ago respectively. Trickstuff brakes have always been held in very high regard by riders and media alike, and Trickstuff clearly believes that they do not need a significant revision or update to keep selling at an acceptable rate. I believe that both of these brakes were ahead of their time when they were launched. Trickstuff brakes, and the Maxima specifically, are famously the most expensive brakes available today. That doesn't make them the best performers, however, and I'll cover that in a detailed comparison video later this year. My personal opinion is that Trickstuff has ascended beyond being just another component manufacturer and has become one of the few luxury brands within the bike industry. That doesn't mean that they don't make a great product, as they certainly appear to, and you better believe that I'm going to test out BCPOV's set, but I do feel like the performance comes second to price in the eyes of many of their consumers. They are certainly viewed as a status symbol to some extent here in North America. Now, I fully agree with the statement, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and I think that the bike industry is considerably more wasteful than it needs to be, pushing marginal improvements year after year to maintain the illusion of progress to the average consumer. Since the release of their 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪𝙪 and Maxima models, which was prior to their acquisition by DT Swiss, Trickstuff has had several years to develop and ultimately bring to market a more economical 4-piston brake, with similar technology and selling points to their premium lineup. And they have seemingly chosen not to do so. They've also yet to release a successor to either of these two models. It's easy to become complacent when you're perceived as the market leader in terms of performance, but it's been well documented to be hard to get back on the horse once you've slowed down innovation. Just ask AMD, Intel, Kodak, GoPro, or Canon. This is where I believe Louis comes in. Louis has priced their brakes aggressively and has gone after an entirely different consumer than those who would be interested in Trickstuff's prices. I believe that there is probably little to no overlap between the potential customers of each brand, and that Louis is targeting people replacing their OEM brakes and other cheaper third-party manufacturers. I do believe that Trickstuff still feels threatened though, and a quick look at their social media pages before and after Louis started marketing will show you that they are several orders of magnitude more active on Instagram now than they have ever been in the past. Whether or not they'll lose many sales to Louis is certainly debatable and yet to be seen, but Trickstuff needs to protect their image and solidify support from their existing customer base. This year at Eurobike on July 3rd, 2024, Trickstuff released their Maxima Black brake set. They claim it has, quote, same oomph, different color. That's not innovation, that's capitalism. Now let's talk about patents. Many people online have speculated that Louis has stolen intellectual property somehow from Trickstuff and has likely infringed on their patents, though none of whom have provided any relevant citations to back up these claims. Now, I'm no patent expert, but just because something looks like something else, that doesn't mean a patent has been infringed upon. That's just not how any of this works. Trickstuff holds several patents, and I could quickly find 5 of them with a Google patent search. Interestingly, the majority of these active patents appear to have been granted within the previous 12 months. Unlike Louis, Trickstuff-related patents appear to always be assigned to Trickstuff GmbH, despite being acquired by DT Swiss many years ago, and I could not find any brake-related patents assigned to DT Swiss Incorporated. Louis is also quick to point out how many patents they have, and that their current products have patented design features that are unique and proprietary to Louis. I believe that this is an attempt to show that Louis is committed to innovation and differentiate themselves from the Trickstuff clone narrative, which, as we've discussed, is not entirely accurate. Reverse engineering is a very common practice among engineering companies around the world, and I've even done my fair share of it at several of my former employers. It is essential to benchmark and learn from your competition in order to design the best product possible. If you've never worked in the field before, you'd probably be surprised at how often mechanical engineering is just about learning from your competitors and designing a product that narrowly dodges a minefield of existing patents. It's just the way the world works, although usually brands attempt to further differentiate themselves from their competition through careful industrial design as well. Louis could have styled the brake in any shape they wanted to. They've had their own style in the past and even teased a few of their original designs on their Bilibili account, but they made a conscious decision to go this way with their production line. They aren't going to make any friends with this approach, but it's likely a successful marketing and brand building strategy, and I would bet that the majority of riders do not know what Trickstuff is in the first place. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but from my research, I do not believe that Louis has infringed upon any Trickstuff patents or intellectual property. DT Swiss has also shown to be litigious since acquiring Trickstuff, specifically in the case of DT Swiss Incorporated versus Trade in Retail Services SL, filed on October 18, 2022. Louis brakes have been globally available for almost a year, including in markets where Trickstuff holds patents, so I see no reason why Trickstuff or DT Swiss would continue to delay a potential lawsuit if they actually had a claim against them. Now, before I give you my opinion on everything that we've just discussed, there's one more topic that we need to talk about, and that would be where Louis brakes are made, and how that plays an important role in people's perception of their products. The majority of mountain bike components available today are manufactured in Southeast Asia, and although they are often designed and sold by Western companies, it's definitely not unheard of for an Asian brand to experience success in the global market. There are many brands from Taiwan, for example, that are immediately recognizable to riders around the world. These include brands like Giant, Maxxis, Tektro, TRP, KMC, Transx, X-Fusion, SR Suntour, Kenda, Kindshock, Jaguar, Microshift, Pillar, Spank, Sunrace, Super B, DDK, Fun, HTVP, and Welgo. I got that on my first try, I'm pretty happy with that. Traditionally, Taiwan has had a focus on higher-end, lower-volume products, and China has often focused on lower-end, higher-volume products. As global market dynamics have shifted over the past few decades, companies seeking to maximize profits have shifted production to cheaper countries such as Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar, and Malaysia. At the same time, China has experienced profound internal growth and modernization, allowing them to move up market into higher value, more technologically advanced industries. The best example of this is in the electric vehicle space, where BYD has grown to be the third most valuable automotive company in the world by market cap today, just 19 years after the release of their first model, which looks very much like a Toyota we all know. There are many other examples of Chinese companies experiencing global success, such as DJI, Insta360, Laowa, and Viltrox. Although much less complicated, the bicycle industry has also seen similar effects, with brands such as Light Bicycle, Magic Shine, and Bafang becoming globally recognizable names within the past few years. If they play their cards right, I believe that Louis could join this list themselves. I've worked professionally with many factories in Taiwan, China, Vietnam, and Cambodia, and I fully believe that many of them would be capable of producing components that match or probably even exceed the quality that Western factories are able to produce. The days of automatically assuming that a made in China stamp means a product was cheaply and poorly produced are long gone. At best, that's an uneducated viewpoint, and at worst, it's xenophobic or borderline racist. Though I will always encourage you to vote with your dollar when it comes to country of origin. This is clearly a very complicated situation and one that has no right answers. But here's my take on Louis as a company. Let's start with the easy points. Louis should never have branded a lever with the 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪𝙪𝙪 wordmark. Full stop. Given how many people accuse the 𝙎𝙧4s and 𝙎𝙬𝑡s of being copied Trickstuff brakes on Instagram, I am shocked that it was this easy to find evidence of Louis originally manufacturing knockoff Trickstuff brakes on their Bilibili account. I'm not sure whether they actually sold or intended to sell these fake branded 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪𝙪 levers connected to Louis calipers, despite the post that was made on November 19th, or whether someone thought it was funny to badge the prototype brakes as originals at the time, and it honestly doesn't matter. Nobody should support this kind of behavior. I understand that Louis wanted to validate some of their reverse-engineered designs, but spending time and money to poorly brand them with the wordmark of a genuine brake is both highly questionable and potentially illegal. I assume that their Takisawa brake was reverse-engineered from and is functionally identical to the Trickstuff 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪𝙪 and does not violate any patents. Louis made it clear that the purpose of these initial 300 brakes was to fast-track their research and development, and that they only charged riders a lifetime service fee, implying that nothing was charged for the brakes themselves, and that they were only sold domestically within China. This is definitely a morally gray zone, and not something that I would personally be comfortable supporting, but I don't believe that it is illegal. Now let's move on to the 𝙎𝙧4s specifically. These are good-looking brakes, but the industrial design is intellectually lazy. Louis would have been far better served by evolving their own industrial design language rather than trying to play off the fame of someone else's, although it is hard to argue with the marketing effectiveness of this strategy. And that's largely where my criticisms end. Louis has been extremely open about their engineering processes, brand morals, and company strategy, at least on Chinese social media. They've maintained a very consistent stance since they were founded and have only ever asserted that the 𝙎𝙧4, 𝙬𝙑4, and 𝙎𝙬𝑡 were unique enough designs to call their own, never the Takisawa or early Louis branded calipers. I'm disappointed that this clear messaging was not repeated on Instagram to the audience that Louis is now attempting to market to, but I do understand why they would want to hide their first generation of brakes from the rest of the world. Aesthetics aside, this entire controversy boils down to whether or not you believe that Louis's list of 9 improvements made to the 𝙎𝙧𝙪𝙪𝙪 design constitute a significant enough difference for Louis to be able to sell the 𝙎𝙧4 as their own. That's really it. And in my mind, I tend to side with Louis here. Hydraulics brakes have been around for ages. They're not rocket science and usually only have a few dozen parts at most. There are only so many ways to design a mountain bike brake, and Louis appears to have made some real, tangible improvements to a historically proven design, going as far as adding proprietary patented features to the line. I don't believe that Louis has done anything illegal here either. The more research I do into their brand and these brakes, the more that I think users Hot Potato and 𝙎𝙐𝙋𝙍𝙍 on Pinkbike summarized my opinion perfectly. It's worth pausing this video here to read their thoughts. Reverse engineering your competitors' products is an extremely common practice, and the art of dodging a minefield of existing patents is often more valuable than creating something unique from scratch. Sadly, this means the golden days of mechanical engineering are long gone, but at least capitalism will prove beneficial to the consumer in the short term, right? I genuinely don't think that Louis will take more than a rounding error's worth of customers away from Trickstuff either. They're simply not targeting the same price point or demographic with their products. It's also not my place to say whether or not Louis is core. On one side, there is a very vocal minority that believe what Lewis has done is theft in broad daylight, despite more than likely not knowing or understanding the full story. And on the other side, I know many more people who view this as a Robin Hood style moment. These people are also likely unaware of the full story, but are optimistic that what Lewis is doing will drive down prices and drive up quality in the long run. For me personally, these second generation Lewis brakes that are currently available for purchase are a little bit too close to Trickstuff's models for me to provide a blanket recommendation for or against. I don't love the fact that a company without any experience in the bike industry has leaned so heavily on the work of others and then gone on to patent improvements after that, as that feels kind of like using a ladder and then pulling it up afterwards so that nobody else can use it. That being said, I have a detailed review of the 𝙎𝙬𝙪 brakeset that I've purchased in the works that will allow you to make your own informed decision, and that video will go live within 3 weeks of this one. And I plan to test Lewis's third generation of brakes that appear to have significantly more Lewis IP in them. Hopefully you learned something today, and stay tuned for the full review.